Welcome to Next Level Play Therapy, a weekly podcast dedicated to supporting the next generation of child and adolescent therapists to provide exceptional play therapy services. We'll explore all things play therapy to elevate your work with children and adolescents using the therapeutic powers of play. I'll discuss practical tips and ideas so you can provide a transformative experience for your young clients and make a real difference in their lives. So get ready to take your play therapy skills to the next level and make a lasting impact in the lives of children, adolescents, and families. Hey there. Welcome to this week's episode of Next Level Play Therapy, where we talk about all things play therapy. Today, I want to talk about the benefits of using play therapy when you're working with traumatized children. So I don't know how many of you have maybe ever thought to yourself, I know I have a few times over the years, wonder, we talk about play therapy and why it makes a difference and why we're encouraging parents to bring their child to us and to allow us to use play therapy with their child, and especially when they've experienced trauma. I know in my Play Therapy Academy program, which is my online, really hands-on, I call it my VIP program. We've talked a lot about different experiences where different play therapists have had parents tell them, "Oh, this play therapy thing's not working." So they pull their child, or another mental health professional or physician has told the parents, "Oh, play therapy is not going to help your child. They need this instead." And then parents are now kind of feeling confused and looking to you to explain why they should use play therapy rather than what this other professional told them that they should do. And so I know as play therapists, it often feels like it puts us, uh, for lack of a better way of saying it, puts us on the defense, or kind of feeling like we have to prove why play therapy is effective. And what I've found over the last several decades is once I get settled into understanding the modalities that I'm using and the effectiveness of what I'm doing based on what the research shows us, based on what experience tells us, based on what theory tells us, and how do we apply that theory in an effective and competent way in play therapy, then for me, it just kind of settled into, I know that I know that I know that I know play therapy works. And here's why play therapy works. And so I think as play therapists, it's helpful, I would even say important, for us to really be able to articulate why you're using the model that you're using and feeling confident and competent that what you're doing is going to help your child, because help your client. Because at some point in the play therapy process, things are going to be confusing. You'll get a little lost, maybe overwhelmed. You may be getting phone calls or emails or texts from parents in between, or caregivers. I use parents and caregivers interchangeably because as play therapists, we know that sometimes children are not living with their parents, or living with other caregivers. Um, so it's important to be able to explain play therapy to them. And I would say, most importantly, it's important for you to feel confident in the model that you're using and feel confident to explain it. So, part of play therapy is really developing your confidence, but it's also your confidence is going to come from your sense of competence. And your competence comes from learning a play therapy theoretical model and how do you apply that through the different stages so that when someone asks you about play therapy and why does it work, then you can articulate why it works. So I want to talk a little bit about that today to kind of help give you a little grounding, especially when it comes to working with traumatized children. Um, and so one of the things that we're looking at is how does play therapy effectively help children who've experienced trauma, and the negative impact of trauma is disrupting their daily living. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Um, we're going to talk about why emotion regulation starts with relationship, how to build self esteem through play therapy, how to create a sense of safety and security, and how the playroom becomes that sacred space for healing. And all of that is grounded in understanding the therapeutic powers of play. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Today's episode is focused on what are the benefits of play therapy with traumatized children. And as you understand the benefits, you'll be able to explain why play therapy is effective. The first thing, if we're talking about play therapy and why is it effective, then we really need to talk about the therapeutic powers of play. So the therapeutic powers of play, raise your virtual hand. Hey there. So I'm going live today. So sorry, I got a little distracted. Somebody on YouTube said hi, and then I was trying to read the name so I didn't get it wrong. I think it's Mandana. Did I say your name correctly? So sorry, I got a little distracted again. So let me get back on track. Okay. Um, If you're watching live, I would love to know who's here. So post your name in the comment. Yay, I pronounced your name right. Um, I always like to make sure I pronounce people's names right. Uh, so I would love to know who's here. So post your name in the comments. If you're watching on Instagram, post your name in the comments. What population are you working with? If you're watching on LinkedIn or YouTube or in my Facebook group, also post your name. What population do you work with? Are you using play therapy? What setting you're working in? What play therapy modality are you using? So go ahead and post your name in the comments and let's get started. Oh, before I say that, so if you find this information helpful, please feel free to share it across your social media platforms. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to hit that subscribe button so you get notified every time that I go live. Also, if you're wanting to find on LinkedIn, if you're watching on LinkedIn and you want to see any of the past episodes, all the replays will automatically generate. That's true on Instagram as well. Probably the easiest place to find everything is on my YouTube channel, Cathi Spooner Renewing Hearts Training. And you click on the live button, you'll see all my live stream episodes on there if you want to go back. And for those of you listening on the podcast, feel free to send me a message on on Instagram and join the conversation. All righty, so let's get started for today. So today, the first thing we want to talk about is the therapeutic powers of play. So the therapeutic powers of play are what set play therapy apart from other expressive modalities. For example, art therapy or music therapy or drama therapy or movement. Play therapy is one of many types of expressive arts modalities in the mental health field. What sets play therapy apart from the other expressive arts modalities is understanding that children access the therapeutic powers of play in play therapy. And the therapeutic powers of play are ways in which children use play for healing. So I would say this was a term that was first coined, to my knowledge, by Charles Schaefer. He wrote a book back in the early 1990s called Therapeutic Powers of Play. And then he and Athena Drews, for those of you watching on YouTube, Instagram, or LinkedIn, you can see I'm holding up the newest version of the book. It's called The Therapeutic Powers of Play, 20 Core Agents of Change, written by or edited by Charles Schaefer and Athena Drews. This was the second edition. They updated it in 2014. And then if you're interested, on the Association for Play Therapy website, they created this cool little graphic for the therapeutic powers of play. So that's the Association for Play Therapy. It's the number 4 pt.org. You could do a search on there if you really want to get that PDF. But essentially, what Charles Schaefer and Athena Drews did is categorize 20 therapeutic powers of play that they identified into 4 categories, using play therapy to facilitate communication, using it to foster emotional wellness, using it to increase personal strengths, and enhance social relationships. So there's different therapeutic powers of play that children access for healing. And so the thing about play therapy is you are helping children access those therapeutic powers of play. And that's how you help them access the therapeutic powers of play is influenced by your play therapy theory model, as well as a really strong therapeutic relationship. So it's kind of threefold. You're accessing the therapeutic powers of play by using a specific play therapy theoretical model within the context of a strong therapeutic relationship. And so that's how you ground the work that you're doing. And one of the things that I like to do, I like using a neuroscience and attachment lens to kind of ground the work that I'm doing. I do use a theoretical model, especially when I'm working with trauma. There was a trauma model that I learned, well, probably 15 years ago now, maybe not 15, probably 13. I think so. Anyways, it was a model through the National Institute for Trauma and Loss, and that's the one I was certified in. And one of the reasons that I was drawn to that specific model is that it understood back, like, this is a while back. Back then, trauma focused CBT was all the rage. Like, that was the thing. And I wasn't necessarily a fan of it because I felt like it didn't take into consideration all of the somatic and sensory ways in which trauma is stored and experienced and activated. Those triggers are activated. And so this model that I learned took all of that into consideration and used It's not a play therapy specific model, but I've kind of used it that way. Um, but what it did do is we use play to access the therapeutic, we use the model to access the therapeutic powers of play. And so over the years, that's become kind of the framework that I use. And through that framework, I help children access those therapeutic powers of play. The other really great thing about the model is really understanding the role of the therapist, in this case, play therapist, as creating that safe space for witnessing and healing and using that therapeutic relationship as a corrective experience while helping children through each stage of the play therapy process. And so, if you're interested in learning more about how to use play therapy with your traumatized clients, I am going to talk at the end about a training that I have to help children heal using play therapy, using an integrative play therapy model with this was model kind of at its foundation, and then integrating more of the neuroscience and attachment um, things that we've learned from research over the last several years, couple decades. So you'll want to stay tuned till the end. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. So when we're talking about the therapeutic powers of play, then there are certain ones that I thought it would be helpful to go through and identify certain therapeutic powers of play and ways in which those are going to help children heal. And so, if the first one that we're talking about is emotional regulation, and so play therapy helps children develop healthy emotion regulation, and these are often disrupted by trauma. So here's what we know about attachment theory and neuroscience: that children are in the process of developing that circuitry for self regulation. To do that effectively, they really need adults in their lives for co regulation. And what happens when a traumatic experience occurs, it really disrupts that process. It disrupts their sense of safety and security, which means they're easily activated by trauma triggers, and then they get dysregulated. They have a hard time feeling safe, which means they're on high alert all the time, which means it's going to be challenging for them to effectively regulate those emotions and develop that neurocircuitry for effective emotion regulation by themselves. They're going to need adults in their lives to co-regulate. And so part of the play therapy process is really understanding, as play therapists, we are using co-regulation in the playroom for children to feel safe, for them to feel safe within relationship, because trauma will impact negatively a child's ability to use co-regulation from adults, influence attachment and relationship building, because it alters the way in which they view the world. It alters the way in which they view themselves. It alters the way in which they view relationships. I've had so many clients tell me, and now I just make it part of the healing process from children all the way to adults, is when a traumatic event happens to them, it makes them feel different, especially if it's trauma. If it's abuse, abuse makes them feel like something's wrong with them or that something's bad about them. They worry what people will think about them. if they knew about what happened to them. So it creates this disconnect and their ability to feel safe. And oftentimes, caregivers or parents are not sure how to help their child, especially if parents themselves have experienced trauma. When their child gets activated and their triggers get activated, then it can also activate parents' trauma triggers. And then parents are now not regulated internally, and then therefore it's going to be hard for them to regulate their child. And so one of the things that play therapy can do is, first and foremost, in those play therapy sessions, helping with emotion regulation through our ability to co-regulate children in the playroom and help them experience relationship and experience themselves in new ways. That also helps to begin that process of building those neural pathways for self-regulation. Children are developing their emotion regulation circuitry. And so part of the work that we're helping them to do is to build that healthy emotion regulation circuitry and help them develop wide windows of tolerance, because stressors happen throughout the day and all of us kind of manage our stress levels as long as it stays within that window of tolerance. If we have a wide window of tolerance, then it's going to help children learn how to regulate and stay within their window of tolerance. And also, when they get outside their window of tolerance, they have the ability to manage that, as well as use their caregivers to help regulate and get them back within their window of tolerance. So, the other thing as play therapists, what we can do is teach parents about the role of co-regulation. We can integrate, depending on your play therapy model and the how, maybe where you are in the change process or what your model says to do. You can integrate parents into the play therapy process. If you do that, though, it needs to be intentional. You need to have a model to do that. I've heard so many times where play therapists will say, yeah, I had caregiver in the playroom, and then I'll kind of ask, well, what was their role? What was your role? What were you accomplishing? And oftentimes they'll say, I don't know. We parent just wanted in there, or I figured I'd give it a try. What often happens when you do that is the parents feel awkward, you feel awkward, and you're not sure what you're doing. And you might eventually figure it out if you're kind of winging it. My suggestion is always, like, go back to your theory model, or when you're using an integrative play therapy model, you can use other strategies like integrating parents, but there's going to be a purpose for that, and your model is going to show you how to do that. Some of the other play therapy models, like Adlerian play therapy and Gestalt play therapy, they will integrate parents. You can. That model encourages, actually, I think, using caregivers and integrating caregivers actually even into the therapy sessions, as opposed to child-centered play therapy, where parents are not going to be in the session with their child if you're using child-centered play therapy. If they are, then you are not using child-centered play therapy. But in child-centered play therapy, you're going to integrate parents by meeting with them separately in a parent-only session, and you can teach them co-regulation that way. So depending on your play therapy model will determine how parents or caregivers are going to be integrated. What is that going to look like? So when you are thinking about integrating parents actually into the session, I always encourage people, go back to your play therapy model And what does it say about how you're going to do that? And how are you going to explain it to parents? The thing is, though, in play therapy, you want to integrate them somehow. And you can, if based on your theory model, you can integrate them into the play therapy session and teach parents what that's going to look like, what their role is, and how they can co-regulate their child and practice that even in that family play therapy session, if your model allows for that. So play therapy can help with emotion regulation because you are you are co-regulating in the session, you are helping children experience that co-regulation, and that then begins to help them build their emotion regulation circuitry. You're teaching parents how, or caregivers how to co regulate, and maybe even integrating them into the play therapy session for that co regulation. So that outside of the play therapy session they have with you, parents are going to be learning how to co regulate and help them manage those emotions and build that emotion regulation circuitry. The second thing that another benefit for accessing the therapeutic powers of play through play therapy to heal trauma is helping to increase or improve self-esteem and confidence. So what we know about trauma is that it negatively impacts a child's sense of self, anyone's really, children, adolescents, and adults, I would say, negatively impacts their beliefs about themselves, their value and worth, their confidence in feeling capable. What happens with trauma is it makes you feel powerless and helpless and terrorized in that powerlessness and helplessness. And so through play therapy, we can help children regain or even gain, if it's been ongoing trauma throughout their lives, help them to gain a sense of control, a sense of I'm capable, that sense of agency. And that's going to help them build a sense of mastery and positive beliefs about themselves. Depending on your play therapy model, you're probably going to work on changing some of those cognitive distortions, those negative beliefs that have resulted because of the trauma. So you can help them to identify and challenge and reframe, or come up with positive counter statements or positive beliefs about themselves using the therapeutic powers of play. And then the third benefit of play therapy helping children to access the therapeutic powers of play is more about neurobiology and the impact of trauma and what it can do to our internal neurobiology systems, and that is reducing the cortisol levels. So what do we know about trauma is it is a stressful event, and if depending on if it's been ongoing, or depending on the impact, if the impact continues to negatively impact or overwhelm and create a sense of not feeling safe at all, anywhere, anytime, then what we know is the level of cortisol in the body or in the bloodstream is going to be high. And so, all right, full disclosure here, my my dog Luna is, so when my husband goes off to work, if you've listened to my previous episodes, you'll know when my husband goes to work, he has to open the door to my office because my dog Luna will just like scratch like a maniac on the door to be let in. So we just Now he just knows he has to open the door and let her in. So what happens then, you can see her. You might even be able to see her if you're on LinkedIn or YouTube. She walks around, but she digs on the carpet. She rolls around and does all her dog things. So if you hear any weird sounds in the background, like digging or moaning, that is my dog Luna, and nothing bad is going on here. It's just my dog Luna making herself comfortable and hanging out with mom. She's comfy right now, but that's likely to change any second now. So my dog Luna is now in the room. And those of you watching on YouTube and Instagram, you might see her. It's harder to see on Instagram. Sorry, if you're watching on LinkedIn and YouTube, you probably will see her in the background. It's harder to see her on Instagram. It's a smaller little screen. Anyways, that's my dog Luna. She's in the room. So back to reduced cortisol levels. So what we know is cortisol is released when there is stress, and we have stress throughout the day. We also know that cortisol levels are typically higher in the morning. I look at that as like getting us activated, and lower at night, like lowering cortisol levels at night so that you can go to sleep. And what we know is with prolonged stress, then there are higher levels throughout the day, even nighttime, which could make it difficult to get to sleep. And that the consistently high cortisol levels over time can have some negative health impacts, because you're getting into your organs, and the levels are higher than are healthy for your body to maintain that healthy homeostasis. So reducing that those cortisol levels because of the impact of trauma is a really important thing that we want to help children accomplish. Play therapy can do that because when we're providing that safe environment to process trauma, then we're helping to reduce those cortisol levels because we're helping to reestablish a sense of safety and security through that play therapy process. Which brings us to the fourth benefit, which is restoring a sense of safety and security. In the playroom, we are helping children to feel safe, that there's a safe place in the world. And in that safe place, they can use that play space to heal and overcome the impact of that trauma, helping them to feel more secure and less anxious as you use your play therapy model to help them through each stage of the change process. Like, for example, in the play therapy model, in the model that I use to help children heal from trauma, is more of an integrative model with the foundation of it using the model that I learned through the National Institute for Trauma and Loss in Children. That's the SITCAP model. I use a version of that because I use an integrative model. SITCAP stands for Structured Sensory Intervention for Traumatized Children, Adolescents, and Parents. So it integrates parents in there as well. And then using some of that. So there are 4 stages, and there are specific things that you do in each stage. And there are certain principles about the model. So we use play therapy to implement the model using a neuroscience and attachment lens. And so in the training, the model that I teach you how to use really goes over all of that neurobiology and attachment to really conceptualize the impact of trauma so that you know what you're doing in order to help them heal, and how play therapy is going to look in each one of those stages, as well as how you're going to integrate parents. So helping parents to create a sense of safety through your play therapy model is another thing that you're going to be helping parents or caregivers to do to help restore that sense of safety. And then the fifth benefit is it really facilitates that healing process. Like the model that I use really tells you what you're going to do in each stage of the change process. You're going to help children access the therapeutic powers of play throughout that change process. It's going to look differently in stage 1 than it looks in stage 3 or stage 4. And so having that model helps guide you through each stage and helps you with your clinical decision making. And so when we're using these therapeutic powers of play, what we're doing is helping children to heal from that trauma and move towards expressing their emotions, identifying those cognitive distortions, feeling empowered, expressing and working through the ways in which trauma is held in our implicit experiences. So, some of that somatic experiencing of trauma and releasing that. You're integrating some of the sensory understanding of trauma, and your interventions then become focused on how are you going to help children process and work through and heal from the ways in which trauma is stored implicitly in the body. And so that's why you definitely need a play therapy model that's going to help you through each stage and guide you in your decision making. So that is it for today. So today, just as a recap, today we were talking about the benefits of using play therapy to help traumatized children heal, understanding that the key part, the hallmark of play therapy is really understanding how to help children access those therapeutic powers of play. And the therapeutic powers of play are what set play therapy apart from other expressive arts modalities. And you're going to be using a theoretical model to help children access those therapeutic powers of play. And you're also doing that within the context of a strong therapeutic relationship, and that you can help children access the therapeutic powers of play to help develop strong emotion regulation, helping parents and caregivers understand co-regulation. You're helping them to improve their beliefs about themselves, restoring that positive self-concept, that positive self-esteem, improving their confidence and feeling empowered. You're also helping to reduce the cortisol levels because you're helping them to feel safe. You're using co-regulation. You're creating a safe space in the playroom. You are teaching parents how to co-regulate. You are teaching parents how to help their child feel safe. You're helping them to restore that sense of safety in their world. And also using a theory model is going to help to facilitate healing through each stage of that change process to overcome that negative impact of trauma. So that is it for today. If you're interested, I do have a course out. This course I did it as an in-person training, as well as it was kind of hybrid. Some people were in person, some people attended via live webinar. And I had a lot of people asking me for a recorded version. So I did. And what I did is I just kind of re-recorded it just for better quality for the sound. Some parts of it are from the webinar when we went through the different activities, play therapy activities you can use. So it's now in a recorded, self-paced format. It's called Healing Trauma Through Play Therapy. Excuse me, I got a cough. Sorry about that. Healing trauma through play therapy, a neuroscience and attachment approach. So right now it's available on my website. If you want to hop over to my website at rhplaytherapytraining.com. That's renewingheartsplaytherapytraining.com. And you'll want to, right now, it's available at a discounted price until July 12th. And if you purchase it before July 12th, you get the discounted rate, $30 off, as well as 2 free months in my brand new membership that I created, which is right now it's closed unless you purchase the course, then you get 2 free months. I'll be relaunching the membership in August, but right now the only way to get into the new membership, called Play Therapy Elevation Circle, is if you are a founding member from when I launched it in March, or you took my training. So here's why I included it, and here's why I actually even created this brand new membership. I feel like when people go to trainings, it's awesome, right? We get great information, and then you get in with your clients, and then you come up against a challenge, and then now what do? You don't have anybody to talk to. You don't have anybody to help you through some of the hard spots. You don't have anyone to share ideas. And so that's why I created Play Therapy Elevation Circle, a membership for play therapists. It's online so that you have a place to go with other play therapists who understand play therapy to help you with getting ideas, helping you deal with challenging things, giving you ideas, resources. We do monthly case consultation. In September, when I relaunch in August, September, we're doing a monthly book club in there. I'm super excited about that. So, what I decided to do for the course, especially since it's an on demand kind of self paced course, is provide access to Play Therapy Elevation Circle so that you have a community of like minded play therapists where you can get ideas and resources and get some support for challenging cases, to figure out what's going on in their sessions, to figure out what to do when certain things come up. So the course itself is called Healing Trauma Through Play Therapy, a Neuroscience and Attachment Approach. It's on demand, so you can take it in your time zone when it's convenient for you. There are modules that are all pre-recorded videos. You're going to work your way through those. And then in addition to that, you can have access to Play Therapy Elevation Circle to take what you're learning in the course and then get help and support in Play Therapy Elevation Circle. So if you're interested in that, you want to register before July 12th, 2025 to take advantage of the access to Play Therapy Elevation Circle, as well as the $30 discount. It's still going to be the course is still going to be available after July 12th. You just won't get the discount, and you won't get access to Play Therapy Elevation Circle, the 2 free months. So I would definitely take advantage of that now if you are interested in the course and you're looking for some help working with traumatized children and adolescents using play therapy. This course uses a neuroscience and attachment approach. And if you have any questions, feel free to message me. We're also going to post links in the comments, or pop over to my website at rhplaytherapytraining.com on the courses page, Healing Trauma through play therapy, a neuroscience and attachment approach. And I will see you next week. Bye for now. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Next Level Play Therapy. I hope you found the discussion valuable and gained new insights and ideas to support your work helping children, adolescents, and families heal. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your feedback helps to improve and reach more people who can benefit from this information. Remember, play therapy is a powerful tool for healing and growth. Whether you're a new play therapist or experienced, I encourage you to continue your learning journey to unlock the potential of play in your own work and relationships. If you have any questions or topic suggestions for future episodes, I'd love to hear from you. Connect with me on social media and visit my website at Renewing Hearts Play Therapy Training to stay updated on upcoming episodes, trainings, and resources. Thank you once again for listening to Next Level Play Therapy. Until next time, keep playing, learning, and growing.